watching this process, as I'm sure you have at home, is the Imo Collation Center. They had one or two, what shall I call it, disruptions, but in the end, they've been able to do as much as they've done. We hope to have some sort of an announcement from there. Let me just give you an update of how many states we have in so far, just in case you're just tuning in. We have a number of states there: Abia, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Delta, born by Ifanyo Kowa, Ebonyi, David Umahi, Enugu, Gombe, Inua, Yahaya, Jigawa, then Kaduna, Nasir El Rufai, Katsina, Kwara, Abdurrahman, Abdurrazak, Lagos, Nasarawa, Niger, Abubakar Bello. We also have Ogun, Dakwa Biodun, Oyo, Sheyi Makinde, Zamfara, Idris Shehu, and Borno, Babagana, Umara. Those are the confirmed results that we have in. And it hasn't all been smooth everywhere. Some states are inconclusive, including Adamawa, Bauchi, Plateau, Sokoto. In terms of rivers, the election there was suspended, as well as Kano, the election was suspended as well. The states were yet to hear from: Benue, Imo, which I think we'll hear from shortly, Taraba, Yobe, and Kebbi. That's just a brief update on the states we've seen so far, the ones we're yet to see, and the ones that were not able to conclude their process.
Indeed, the train is moving. It's moving slowly but steadily. From what you've read out there now, we're talking about 23 states now. So there are roughly about 5 or 6 states where we haven't heard anything. Some of them, of course, inconclusive, others suspended, and then, of course, the others we've got results. So we're back now, and I don't know if there will be enough time this time again for you to conclude your point, and then we'll go to Abuja and take our guest's reaction from there.
Actually, before we took the break, Newton was asking a question.
Yes.
And the question was about what is the political ideology of Nigeria? Am I right? You know, Nigeria is a country of diverse groups. Like we said, over 250 ethnic groups. And this, let's even take the 3 major ethnic groups, you know, the Hausa, Fulani, the Yoruba, and the Igbo. We have different traits. We have different, you know, ideologies, different worldviews, okay? And for us to have a vision, a collective vision, and I think that's the essence of this unity in diversity. But you cannot legislate it. You cannot enforce it. There is no problem in our ethnicity. What we need to do is to find out the best in all of us, synthesize it, agree on it, and form a collective national ideology. Is it the welfare of the people that we want to pursue? And how do we achieve that? I remember about a year or 2 ago, we have issues with Bill Gates. He spoke about the issue of spending money on infrastructure. And we should focus more on people-centric infrastructure. And what are these? They are the soft things. Basic things: food, clothing, shelter, you know, light, health care. Are we agreeing on all of this? And if you have agreed on all of this, okay, do we need a central government to do everything? We don't. And that's why we're talking about all this issue of devolution of power, you know, people controlling their resources. You can't fight corruption in Nigeria today because all the resources go to the center. And what belongs to everybody belongs to nobody. But if each of the federating units controls its own resources, like we had in the First Republic, and you pay tax to the federal government, it will be difficult for any politician to steal your resources because you know his pedigree, you know where he lives, you know how much he earns. But now, we all go to the central government cap in hand. We are not even able to. Let me give you an instance now. Okay, we are doing new rail track from Lagos to Kano. But this is also the same route that the colonial master gave us in the 1800s. The line passed through Lagos, Ido, Ikeja, Agege, Ifo, to Abeokuta. But if you look at those, is that what we need today? Wouldn't it have been better for us to create an intra-city rail network that will have more impact? We did a Kaduna-Abuja rail track. Okay, good, okay? But you know that people in Abuja suffer every day. They say the satellite towns. Is it not better for us to have an intra-city rail track in Abuja? And even the Kaduna-Abuja rail track is run at a loss. So we have centralized a lot of these things at the central level and put all our eggs in one basket. So we actually need to sit down and see how, as a country, we want to be governed.
But then in that kind of situation, I mean, since this particular election that we're monitoring now is for governors and state assemblies,
yes,
we know what has happened with many of the states in the last couple of years. Neota was mentioning that there are many states where gratuities have not been paid for years, and salaries are in arrears of
yes,
months, in some cases into years as well. And it all goes back to the issue of how are those places run? Are those units of the Federation viable? Now, any governor who is coming in or has been re-elected will have to face that problem almost immediately,
yes,
partially because of the new minimum wage.
That's true.
What, in your view, do they have to do to be able to overcome this particular challenge, the one of, do I call it internally generated revenue, or increasing the internally generated revenue of their states?
Okay. Now, the first issue is okay. Like you said, a lot of state governments have not been paying salaries. They've not been paying gratuities. Some are deducting cooperatives deductions, and they're not remitting it. The major problem is this. It's because there are no check and balances. There is no rule of law. The political process of getting elected is very, very expensive. Mm-hmm. And the government knows that once they are in power, they are accountable to no one. That's the major issue here. And unfortunately, the populace, are armless until the next 4 years. And like I said, the press is the fourth estate of the realm. In this democracy, this fourth republic, the press has been nowhere. That's the truth.
I don't believe the press has been nowhere. Because the press cannot win. You do something, they say the press is the problem. Then you don't do anything, the press is absent.
It's quite unfortunate that people are actually, our politicians have demonized the press. When you stand up to defend the people or bring alternative opinion, they attack the press, they demonize the press. But that should not allow the press to be timid.
No, but in some instances, I'm sorry to cut in, but in some instances, actually, it's some of the people who also demonize the press. Some of the people you are supposedly defending who demonize the press, because if and it speaks to something else, which I wanted you to finish this before we go there.
Yes.
Well, it speaks to the fact that there is this trend that has come with the social media, which is the idea that if I don't agree with you, then we can't disagree to agree. That it means that you've got to abuse me, you've got to use, very negative words and so on. If you go online, you find that people, the civil discourse is next to impossible online because people have taken polarizing positions. So as Ijoma pointed out, the media does not seem to win either way, whichever way it is that you take it. But I want you to talk about the fiscal federalism part, because that one is going to be a major challenge that they're going to face almost as soon as they come in. The issue of revenue and how that goes on, because you can't come in as a new governor and continue not to pay salaries. And you can't spend your entire 4 years just paying salaries.
That's true.
Ladi, talking about that, so you weigh this in as well. There's a central body that determines how much each governor earns. But each governor is expected to generate their own
IGR,
their own IGR at their own rate. And yet they're not allowed to determine how much each governor is paid. The state is not allowed to determine that, so that they are paid based on what they have. Could you share that on there?
Well, thank you. Let's talk about the issue of the press, okay? And this intolerance to opposing views, okay? It's quite unfortunate that I was reading an article written by the late Professor Pras Lesomi, the years in Pacific Peace, okay, about the essence of philosophy and the lack of the development in advanced countries. And you see the good roads, you see the airport, you see the social security system, that all this scientific advancement did not come from just science. It came from some people, some thinkers, philosophies, various schools of thought. You have the issue of dialectics in philosophy, Karl Marx and what have you, okay? You have a thesis, which is a position A. Then you have an opposing view, an antithesis. When you have this, there's a clash of the ideas, and you mix it, you agree, you come up with a better position, which is a synthesis. And then you go forward. Then later on, this synthesis becomes a thesis again, and the process continues. That's dialectics. But in this country, you just feel like once the government is taking a position, and you have an opposing view, you are an opponent, you are an enemy. Corruption is fighting back. Fake news, hate speech. We can't make progress like this. And this problem started some 30 years ago, when we abandoned the act. History, and other social science courses. We believe that science is the only way to go. But science requires people who would do the thinking. That's the truth. A lot of people study medicine abroad, especially in Europe, they study philosophy as a course. They study the social sciences as a course. Because it generates a lot of ideas in them, thinking process and what have you. So that's on that. On the issue of this fiscal federalism, we are not practicing federalism, that's the truth. Since 1966, we have been practicing unitarianism. And that's where we have this problem.
Unitarianism.
Okay? Yes, that's the truth.
That's why you're chuckling. Why?
That's a new one.
No, that's the truth.
We get new words coming out.
Okay? We are only federal in name. There is no state in Nigeria that is not viable. But we need to put on our thinking caps. We have turned ourselves into beggars. For me, those asking for resource control, what has happened is that since 1966, the Federation of Nigeria has stolen the wealth of the oil communities. That's the truth. We need to give back. Each state in the north, you have all kinds of mineral resources. Let me give you an instance. Let's even talk about agric. Lagos alone every day kills about 5,000 cows. At 100,000 per cow, you know how much that is? If a state like Nasarawa or Sokoto is focused on producing cows, you know how much that state can make on that? So we have a lot of issues here. We're not putting our thinking caps. And that's the problem we have. People must hold the state government accountable. But the problem is that since 1999, our democracy is faulty. You see how the local government elections they conduct. What do you get? Any party in government wins all the seats.
Well, a lot of people say we're disinterested in what's going on at the local government level because you're your own personal local government. You give yourself water, you sort out your lights, you sort out so many things that they should sort out. So when the elections come, they just seem to watch because they don't feel connected to it.
That's the truth. Our politicians now, we've been doing this for 20 years. We need to be sincere to ourselves. We need to have the interest of the country. Is this the country we want to hand over to our children? Nigerians are now going to Canada, they are going everywhere. Before the military left, there was no middle class. You remember? There was no middle class. But this democracy brought back middle class. I don't want to know whether it's PDP or APC, okay? Brought back the middle class. But in the last few years, we have started losing hope. And when you lose hope, there's no future. So for me, the president, the parties must, and the stakeholders, like the traditional rulers, like the religious leaders, like elder statesmen, must come together and say, let's sit down and dialogue. We had a national confab in 2014, okay? The result is there. APC has won now, okay? So I heard the president saying that PDP has not accounted for 16 years of how they spend the money. But we have been there for 4 years now. You bring them to account. Democracy is a 4-year tenure. By May 29, I'm sure we won't be ready to listen to PDP spoil the country for 16 years. So now, what I want to know is that, what are you going to do in the next 4 years? And the president has a golden opportunity to leave a lasting legacy.
Are you saying that the bar is higher now?
The bar is higher now. Okay? He has got the opportunity to ensure that his name is written in gold forever in Nigeria.
You're still talking about the president, but you just started out by saying there has to be a movement towards decentralizing, but you're still talking about the president. What about the governors?
Unfortunately,
what can they do?
The way the electoral control is structured, okay, you can't do it without the president showing leadership.
Are you saying that the way the constitution is, the governors have no leeway to do anything?
For you to amend the constitution, you still need the governors, the state assembly, and what have you.
Oh, no, hold on.
Yes.
I'm not talking about amendment right now. Is it that the governors, as they are, there is nothing they can do with the state of the constitution now without amendment?
There is a lot they can do. You remember during Obasanjo's time, when Lagos State revenue were withheld, okay? The VP now was the Attorney General of Lagos State. He instituted many cases in court challenging the federal government, and they won. Okay? The state government can do a lot, even within the resources they have. Okay? But let's even start from one of the problems we have. Let me give you an instance. If you are recruiting somebody into China today, okay, at your CEO, you won't make school start the basic. If you make a school start, it must be with experience. But the Nigerian constitution says that for you to be a president of Nigeria, you must have at least school start. Not even 5 passes, okay? Just have school start. But it did say the level of experience you must have. A country is a company that must be run profitably because you have stakeholders. We are not running this country like a company. We are just like pirates of the Caribbean. You just see, that's the truth. Everybody grabbing what you can grab. And that's why I'm coming back to the issue of the presidency, okay? Because we have an executive president who is probably the most powerful in the world. And he can show that direction and say, I'm 76-year-old now. I've been president before, head of state before. I've been president twice. I want to leave this legacy. Let's make sure that Nigeria becomes a well-run country where we won't be the poverty capital of the world.
Well, in terms of improving our electoral process beyond just the country,
yes.
When you look at, some people say that the president that's elected is only as good as the process that brought him forth. So what are you looking to see so that in 2023, and I've been saying this since we started on this panel, we do not sit down like this and start talking about what the president should do, what the people should do. How do we begin that, that step to improve the process?
The first thing the president should do is to, between now and May 29, sign the Electoral Act into law. That's the first thing you should do, okay? The second thing you should do is to ensure that everything INEC needs for the next election is provided now. We have to have this issue of delayed election for INEC. We know the election is 4 years away, like the World Cup. You don't start preparing for election some few months of the election.
But even the World Cup, we've had our issues with.
We've had our issues with it.
For the World Cup.
Okay? So let's ensure that the system works. Okay? He who comes to equity must come with a clean hand. As long as there's a level playing field, okay, then the vote will count. But now, people know that their vote do not count. If the vote counts, people will come out. Because Nigerians are very patriotic people. We love this country. And we want, what are we asking for? Let's have good food. Let's have good health. Let's have light. Why must the federal government control power generation? Why? Why must the federal government control rail?
All right, we'll allow you to conclude your thoughts so that we can take a quick break. But I want to also thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. Social commentator Olaitan Odukoya, thanks a lot for sharing your thoughts with us.
Pleasure having you with us.
Yes, very insightful.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's take a quick break and hopefully we come back and we have more from all the states that we're expecting.